Welcome to Den of Discussion. I am your host, Douglas Robbins. Today we are speaking with art educator and Renaissance man, Michaell Magrutsche. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. You let me on here.
I'm excited to have this conversation because I feel like it's very important, but I'd like to start with this. I'm a big fan of the progressive rock band Jethro Tull, and one of their songs, Skating Away on the Thin Ice of the New Day, starts with the lyrics, born of humanity, sold to society.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk for a moment about human nature versus the man-made systems we live within and adhere to. What can you speak on with that?
God, I love you, Doug. I love you, Doug. This is my whole philosophy after 60 years of living, that it took me 60 years to figure out, to find that humans are where the power is. And it's not the government, it's not the man-made systems, which are great. I'm not against systems. I think our relationship towards system or with system, we have forgotten that systems are supposed to help humans, support humans to expand their human potential. And what systems did is they took the creativity and human potential that we humans have on both sides of the systems. One on navigating the systems to get through life, basically. That's what life becomes today in the Western world. To get through system, to navigate. Whoever is the best navigator, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, whatever, can be a rotten person, doesn't matter. Can be a rotten human, can have all the stuff, but he's a master a navigator through systems, because systems are limited. And if you know the game, you're a good player.
Yeah.
And then so what happens is that that's why I find art so important, to pull it out from the system. I also didn't know that art was only art business. Art world that we know, unless your kid draws some paintings, but art that we know is the art system. It's not and that got me about the system, the whole system knowledge and awareness, because we're using, our human potential is endless and limitless. Obviously, we see that of the systems we created. We can just do anything, and we can change things, and we are adaptable, as we talked about the adaptability in COVID. We just believe that systems are wiser, have a better answer than humans themselves. And we forgot that without humans, there is no systems. We completely forget that truth, that there is no United States without human. There is no system. There's not even a state, nothing.
It's fascinating because we look at the systems, consumerism or fads or whatever it might be, education, religion, whatever we're talking about, as if they are eternal. And they are not eternal. Some people devised them and they evolved over time, and they are what they are now. And quite often we're so disconnected from ourselves, from our higher selves, from nature, where we were born from. And the man-made systems dictate to nature, which is a much broader, more powerful, in a sense, realm. And we get trapped by these thoughts of, well, I have to have X, I have to be Y. And the truth is, it's just a belief system. But when you step out of that, and that's why nature and walking and all that is so integral to art, creativity, peace of mind, because you were not born to society. You were born to humanity or to nature.
Yeah. And humanity and nature, we haven't created.
Right.
So why would we give? It's almost like, oh, I'm going to do a little, I always say that to the thing, I'm going to make a little rabbit. And then I start talking to the rabbit. And then my mind imagines, this rabbit is real, but it's never going to be a rabbit.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be a rabbit. It is a figment of my imagination. And that's, I think, the big breakdown in society, that we have disassociated from not thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We can think our way out of everything, but then we are out of time and space, like nature is always in time and space.
Yeah.
So we pull ourselves constantly out, and everything needs to be logic. And what I say is, it's not our fault, and it's nobody to blame a fault. It's an awareness. That's why I say this isn't a crisis in the world where we need to fix things, change things, make it new. It is a crisis of consciousness that we learn to readjust what is important, to be human, understand our humanness and humanity, really understand what this is, a power. But we act like we are just the pawns in a chess game. We're nothing, and we diminish ourselves too. And I say, in art, you see that. In art, you get into a non-thinking mode. Because you cannot just say, I'm gonna make up art. Then AI could do all the best art.
Yeah.
And AI will never do the best art. Never, ever. It can copy aesthetic patterns, which is copy, but it will be nothing fresh.
Yeah. It's amazing. We often get trapped in society, in our brains, in the pros and cons, the assessing, the critical thinking. But that's just a small part of who we are.
Yeah.
And we're spending all of this time up in the brain, trying to figure it out, pay bills, navigate the world, work, but it really feels like we become these worker ants, right? We must do this. But you go out into nature, and this was something I learned as a child, because I didn't like school. I didn't want to be in society. Nature was the one place I didn't have to think about everything. There was no judgments. There was no requirements. I was simply being in nature. And because of that, that allowed me to tap into this broader self. But society has that way of limiting that, or kind of severing you from that. Hey, be busy with all the stuff with the news or celebrity gossip or whatever it might be. And your brain is, and it affects you on a cellular level. When you are constantly being filled, it's affecting your emotions, it's affecting your energy by intaking all of this. And it's the same thing we come back to with, nutrition. You want to have good nutrition. Well, physically you want good nutrition, but mentally you want good nutrition. What are you taking into your brain?
That's awesome. That's an awesome thing. That's an awesome metaphor. That is, we want good nutrition, but mentally, that's exactly, because it pulls you also out. I catch myself that it pulls me out. Unnecessary stuff pulls me out, that I'm just interested. So there was a fly on the wall. I love this new podcast from Dana Carvey from SNL and what's that?
David Spade, I think.
David Spade,
yeah.
I love that podcast. And I saw this morning, I wanted to do, I was very at peace and everything. And then something pulled me, and I pulled this, and I catch myself to go, this is so not necessary for my existence, for my growth, but I like it. So we like this saying, I want junk food, but really I want good food. So it's the seduction, and I think it's a seduction of the outside world, and also the programming, because when we come to this earth, we step on an escalator. It's not like we walking, like you see always, like the human, how you animal came to human, you walk the earth. We come on an escalator that shows us system and thinking, and what we have to think, and our programming is already there. And if we never step off the escalator, then we think the world is Macy's. We think that is the world, and I have to navigate in that shiny Macy world. And we say we can't say a bad word because we need to be keeping that shiny world alive. And the shiny world gets darker and darker and darker, because life is good and bad. It's both, which art shows you very much. And by the way, one more thing, you grew up with nature saved you, art saved me.
Yeah.
So same, very similar, but
yes. And look, a lot of these systems are good for what they are. They were developed for what we needed. They help us with habits and shopping and food and whatever else it might be. But it seems like the brain adheres to them and attaches as if they are the only truth. And they, again, were designed to enhance our lives, not imprison our lives. Let me ask you something. So why do we feel good when we do something creative or artistic? Why does it feel like we tap into something much broader and greater, and there's this deep satisfaction when we do?
Okay, so there's a couple of things. There is, first of all, the most surface answer is we always like to tinker. We are makers, right? Like when we are not paid for work, we still tinker. We're not sitting on a couch just, yes, for a short time if we do that, and then we die. But in general, we like to, that's when on weekends, the CEO works all day, so and so many hours. And then on the weekends, he's tinkering on his car. He's, he's doing his whatever. He meets his friends for exchanging things. We always are doers. Humans, so this system says humans are lazy if we give them social benefits or we do anything, because they want to keep that worker bee, that worker bee. Humans are not lazy. They're shaming into the worker bee. Humans are not lazy. They always do something, because every retired person starts tending to a garden. So humans it's a thing of creating, which is an inherent thing, versus creating for somebody else. So not something that, so you would, for example, you would garden, I would paint, right? That's our inheritance. But you can't garden, and we have Home Depot. It's just, I'm not in the garden department and not in the art department.
Yeah.
So that's why the justification is you getting paid. You getting money because you tinkering and whatever, or do stuff that you actually don't want to do, but you get paid. That's the one thing why you feel good with art, because nobody just says, I'm going to just make art. And I think if you're an artist that wants to be in the art business, you don't have fun creating either, because you're creating it's like you're making something for a market. Yeah. You have fun, but less fun than creation. And now to the essential thing of why creation makes you so feel good. Because you're not connected to anything that is predestined. So all the systems and all the mind stuff is, the outcome, past, present, future. When you create something out of you feel like I'm an abstract painter too. So I feel like I want to create something. And usually this comes to me, and I really like that grainy chartreuse behind you, and that color I want to take and do something. And I start with this color, and I can't start thinking. If I start thinking, I'm out. And so I have to force myself always the color, and I come in this moment, and all of a sudden I get wisdom, because in the moment you have wisdom. In thinking, you're out of wisdom. You are in a linear thing. Mm-hmm. And thinking is only, I would say, 1% of wisdom. And we have learned how to think like ad nauseum.
Yeah, and once you start thinking, I'm a writer, and once you start really thinking about, well, who's going to read this? Where's it going to go? What's the point of this? You get trapped. And when 100%. I'm writing, I have maybe half a dozen books or so. I'm not worried about who's reading this, who isn't reading this. I'm simply following the story, the characters, what needs to be said here or there. what I'm trying to do with this piece. And when I start thinking about the marketing of it or the business side of it, then I start going, the heaviness comes in. What do I got to do here?
It's the work. The one is the creation.
Mm-hmm.
And the value, what artists don't understand, and this is why 95% of artists are poor worldwide. Can you imagine this? Creatives, the world without art.
Yeah.
But this is why they are the thing, because they're in this magical place like you and I. I wrote 5 books too. So it just, you're in this magical space. You feel like $1,000 bucks. It doesn't matter if you have pain or whatever, you start writing, all of a sudden you forget the pain because you're going into this wisdom, into this, let's see what's coming out. You are curious, you all your human traits that are important. And then, then the artists usually finish the book, finish the painting, finish the music, and then they go to the market. And now this is the damaging thing. And this is very metaphorical for the world. Then they go in the market, and the market isn't a person, isn't, your wife or something. It is a system that decides on the aesthetics of anything, of your writing, of my painting, of the music. And my question is that really the best? First of all, the value is in the creating. It's not in the thing, because you cannot pay for that feeling. If you could buy the feeling that you have when you create, you couldn't. It's priceless. You can't get it. It's a feeling. It's a zen. It's something.
Well, when I'm writing, when I'm in that zone or whatever you want to refer to, I'm not in, or that isn't in this 3-dimensional physical reality, right? Exactly. It comes from this other place, or that's how you experience it in this other place. So it's not about time and energy. It's just this flowing wisdom, information. But I wanted to go back to something you were saying. We're tinkerers. We always want to be doing something. Sure, we want to sit on our butts sometimes, but often, well, we should look at that, or I should go move that over there, or build my garage, or we are, I'm not a religious person, but let's say God created the universe, created all of this, and we essentially are connected to that divine, and we create our own little universes, and we all have the gifts on this earth to create or to destroy. And often I believe it comes back to your mindset, your emotional belief system, on, do you think here on earth is heaven or hell, based upon your point of view and how you view yourself and how you view life. But it is a curious thing, because when you're writing or creating, you're not worried about the physical thing. Once it becomes a book, now it's a physical thing. Well, who the hell is going to read this? Why did I even write this? And it's so interesting, say, for instance, when you're looking for agents, which is not a pleasant experience. Most, like I typically write more socially conscious types of books. Little different, not your typical just mystery or whatever. It's like, okay, you look up agents, they have just very generic labels: fiction, literary fiction. Well, it's like, okay, well, can you be more specific than fiction? I mean, it's like anything made up is fiction, So, but it is a very strange thing going from this esoteric realm to the physical realm. And that's where the intellect kind of gets in the way and says, oh, what are you going to do with this? Who's going to read this?
Because it's secondary. It is second. It is the work is in, there is this energy of God, let's say.
Yeah.
And you plug in with your God energy. Yeah. Because you are God of your world, you plug in, and the mastermind of both, like you and I have a mastermind right now that, is in charge of both of us.
Yeah.
So the mastermind that you and this creative energy has, plus you, filtered through you, because you are the vehicle that brings it in the physical.
Yeah.
And you have done that. You have brought it into the physical. That knowledge is here. Of if anybody buys it or not, you expand it in your way. It doesn't matter if the bum on the street, he expanded the consciousness of thing. that's why every human is so valuable, because it's a piece of that God. It's not man-made. I haven't made you. Okay, sorry. I wish I could, but I'm unconscious of what it means to create a human being.
Yeah.
But we treat human beings as they're replaceable, they're exchangeable.
Yeah.
But only in the system. See, that then we come back in the system.
Great
in the
point.
system, because they defined you, and once you're defined, it doesn't matter how bad you are, which you know with politicians and everybody else. Once you're defined, we are creatures of habit, so we keep, voting for the same person, voting for the same system, voting for the same, instead of changing and questioning our systems and adapting the systems to say, can I really expand my human potential with this?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's why I say, you see the onslaught of podcasts right now, because the other superpower is dialogue, human dialogue.
Yes,
that's
sir.
the other super. So creativity, so nature is given. That's our habitat. We can't destroy it. But systems also say, make you condition humans that they say, I don't care if I destroy the habitat. I doesn't care who comes after me, because they see time as linear. Dead people have no value. A dead person has no value. So they want to keep you long alive it's valueless, and
well,
go ahead.
Well, some of the systems are really
No,
there to just perpetuate themselves, right?
Yeah.
Could care less about humanity or the earth or anything.
Yeah, but it is, that was the big enlightenment that I had like a year ago or so. On the other side of systems is humans. Are humans. They are humans on the other side of systems. So we're using the creative energy, the God energy, on one because safety and security is inbred in us, that it is important, and it aligns with what system promise you. Number one, every system says, we promise you peace, security, and safety. That's, doesn't matter, that you get gas, that you can buy this, that you not hunger to death. And then look at systems, what systems do. They create wars. No human create wars. System create wars. So the people on top, but they use the system to create a war. Yeah. Humans alone can never create a war. If I have a fight with you, we fight it out, and that's it. And then we walk away like nature. Have you seen when ducks or birds fight, they fight and then they go apart? I mean, you see it so often now. I mean, you see it off with steers. They ram each other, or wild animals, and then they run away and then go apart.
But it's not the whole flock. It's just the two, and then they're done, and then they move on. And
it goes also nature. Yeah. You have a heart attack. You have a heart attack in the lion, and it's spread out. I think in 1 or 2 or 3, it automatically realigns. Yeah. So otherwise, you would have lions with heart attacks all over.
Yeah.
So you get sick in nature. It handles itself. You either die, you as the individual, or it's get bred out, and the next generation doesn't have it anymore. So
to get back to one thing for a second. So I have been building my garage. I built a workbench, going to build another little bench to sit on, cleaning it up, putting some new lighting in there. And it's something that I am doing for me alone. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's very gratifying to see the progress. I'm not asking of someone else to put their value on it or their, judgment upon it. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is often the difference. I'm creating, and I'm not, but there's no like, oh, can I sell it? And so once you transfer it into that creative zone, now you've transferred into the intellectual zone of, what is it worth? Can I do anything with it? Et cetera, et cetera. Now you're putting it on the world's shoulders to judge, or in the world's hands to judge. So you take it from this beautiful essence of just creating something, which I'm doing in my garage. Obviously, there's no value to anyone else, but that's the tricky part. And we get discouraged in between that bridge, or that bridge from those two, from creativity to the other side of wanting something from it. I'm going to tell you, I just did a different podcast this morning about my dog. And my dog, whenever we go hiking, he's kind of a hound mix, a Catahoula leopard. He loves hunting. He never catches anything, but he loves hunting. And he's not deterred because he doesn't catch anything. He always thinks he's going to.
Yeah.
And he's got a short memory. And that's the beauty of it. If he thought, oh, I'm never going to catch anything, what's the point? You know,
he would be fat. He would be, you know, he would be fat. He was laying anywhere like humans.
Right.
It's just,
he would say, I'm just going to lay on the couch here.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Birds never think, you know, when they're on one, I'm going to go to that branch or whatever. They just fly.
Yeah.
They fly around, they play. They're always in. And you would think, why do they have so much energy? You know, they have so much energy, all the animals, you know, they never run out of energy. And when they're tired, they lay down for 5 minutes and they recoup right away because it's like our sleeping. You know, when we sleep, we digest what it is to be physical.
Yeah.
You know,
well, they're not trapped in emotional turmoil, right? And that's what we often struggle with: beliefs, thoughts, and half of it, or 90% of it's not even true. The narrative that the chattering brain comes off, you do this is going to happen. It's wrong most of the time. So it's amazing that we can do anything at all, frankly. What do you think the function of art is in the human experience? Because it seems like it should get a lot more attention. We're talking about art, but really we're talking about creativity and honoring that spark that we all carry. What do you think we could do different in society and education?
I think the first realization is for all artists and creative people to understand that what they perceive as the art world is art business, is a system. It doesn't matter if you don't sell in that system or not, but you're still referring to it. So you create, let's say, instead of your garage, you create a painting, and then you go in that, say, I did that just for me. It doesn't have, but my wife says sell it. Okay, or my father said sell it or whatever. So you go, and now you go into the mind thing. You look at, you know, is your painting look like everybody else's? Is your painting looking different? Is it good enough? And that's where when art loses its thing. Art is a reflection of you, like your garage is a reflection of you. It doesn't matter if somebody sells it, that's the icing on the cake. Your success in business is the icing on the cake. It is the creation. And that's why we think we think we can manipulate, because systems manipulate. Systems because to keep surviving, they have to keep manipulating, because they're not like humans that change all the time if they need to. So systems are in the manipulation. So when we need to, the artists need to know first that wherever art they perceive as art, it doesn't matter, historic art, anything, is always, it's history of art, but it is always a business. Religion, any system that uses art, art becomes a business. And there's no way around. I mean, you can challenge me on that, but it is a business. It is the creative power. The other side is the creation, like you say, and that's where a big misunderstanding comes. The value of art is not in the selling, it is in the creating. And because artists think the value is, they were blinded and try to believe it, that the belief in the selling, they think you know, they need to adjust to that market, and they need to have to, or even if they don't, if they're revolutionists, if they say screw it, if the market doesn't access them or appreciate them, it's like everything. If the market, you create a bicycle, and I think in that is much more much more honest to say, I create a product, I bring it into the market, I look at my competition, make it a better bicycle, let's say, or a different color or whatever. And if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. That's the game of economy. Artists don't see that because they have never defined themselves by themselves, and they have not understood that art is something else. It's an inherent tool. It's not a product. It's an inherent inherent power, superpower. And the second part, I would say, that's where you need to see that you create that. If you want to see art in a right perspective, you need to see the separation of art. See, that's my specialty, is to define art outside of any system as a human superpower, as the tool. And did you see how I do it? I do it with 30, I wrote, books about it, but I make a 30-second podcast because I
saw that.
trust.
I listened to a few today.
Yeah. And I give you just a thought. There's no shining or whatever with it. I just thought and I give question. Because I believe that by you listening to it, the consciousness can be raised with your thought. I trust your thought. You don't need me to be happy, but I can put a seed in you that you either discard or that you make bigger or you make more seeds out of it. And I believe that humanity works like that. I think we don't have to try to change people. That's why discourse, a healthy discourse is good. It's not about right or wrong. It's about let's dive into this. And let's because that's human potential. And when in art, it doesn't matter if it doesn't have a purpose, but it is pure human potential. Because you don't know what to do with this triangle or whatever, doesn't mean it has no purpose. We might find out we didn't think it has a purpose to have an appendix and tonsils. And now we know they have purpose. So whatever we create or nature creates is never a waste, never. But we don't have that mind yet. And first of all, you get paid anyway by creating it. But in addition, you might want to wonder what this has to do with human potential. How you put the colors together, how to do the forms, I remember, there's a thing of aesthetics. In the past, you couldn't wear, I don't know if you were old enough, but you couldn't wear brown and black together, that was just societally defined. You cannot wear a polka dot and stripes. Look at the fashion today. You can wear anything. Yeah. When I grew up, you had to wear a suit to work. You had to think, it was so restricted, so restricted that our mind says that's not right. That you're wearing, oh my God, you're wearing a thing and this, oh, that's not right. You needed to get another color of your t-shirt or whatever, if I said it. And that's completely gone. Everything is, we just haven't found out yet. We haven't found out the value yet. We haven't found out your value. But because I can create, that's, sometimes people, they create and they get discovered. They get discovered, their work gets discovered. And then say, oh my God, it didn't make any sense for me. I know people that bought my paintings and they say, oh my God, I have your painting. I look at it every day and it makes me happy. I was done with that painting. Because if I'm not done, I'm not selling it. So we are not aware of our human potential. We're looking at system. All our energy goes into systems to maintain them, to navigate them, but we don't create anything new. We have no thoughts thing. So we create new things physically, but I would say, I think we are very ineffective because that's why we recreate stuff, because of the system, because it's the used one and we fall always into the system. But and a lot of people get hate from the systems. They say, oh, IRS is not good or whatever. But there's humans on the other side. See, instead, if we see the systems, hey, let's use systems that help our human potential. And the moment they get old and outdated, let's either renew them, let's fix them, or are done with them. Because the effort to maintain a system, I mean, look at the taxes. It could be so easy, but it's not. And with all our knowledge and everything, it's always a hassle every time. And it's life energy, it's your life force that you give to that system. And the people on the other side will say, okay, we spent so much money on the war, on this, on the thing, we need to do it too. So get the human potential. So it's amazing that we even can function still by human against human creativity, but we're not really being human in nature, being creative, tinkering around, because we are so distracted to poor navigation and creation and maintaining of systems. And that's why, because we totally disregard our habitat and other humans. We treat them like, I mean, how can you say somebody, the refugees, that have you created humans that you can say, you know what, let them die. Let them die in a war. Can you say that? I mean, if your mind, if you're all this thinking of all these people is so good, how can you justify killing one person when no human created people and nature?
Yeah, for me, there's a higher moral code, and that's higher than NATO, higher than any treaties, and that is a moral code.
Yeah. But
I want to touch base
it's not
on
even moral. Would you call it moral? I mean, I think it's a logic and also emotional value. I mean, if we say all in logic, if we are so logical, then how can we justify that? To kill something we haven't created, nature or human. I mean, to rot it out. I mean, that I'm saying it's not even moral, because morals are, everybody's morals are different, because of this, the moral is not a thing. It's just in the nature of humans. I'm not making you wrong about what you say. You're right with the moral, but I think it's above moral. Because moral is what you think, you shouldn't be a woman. And then in other countries, they think, yeah, it's moral to be the woman. And she has to serve you because God says whatever, which is, again, a system, Well,
I'll just say there's a higher path then.
Path, yeah.
But I want to...
it's not spiritual. Yeah.
Speak to a couple things. So, we put our value, often our self-value, on what other people say about us. So with art, when we're writing or creating something, there's this beautiful mystical event taking place. And then we say, hey, art world, book world, whatever it might be, what do you think about me? And it's very personal. To the book world, it's not personal, but to me, it's personal. And so often it's easy to walk away feeling less than or small. When we were creating it, it was this beautiful kind of divine, sacred, unfolding. But then you say, hey, book world, agent, publisher, what do you think about it? And, maybe they'll give it a couple minutes, if that, take a quick look. Maybe it's not for them, whatever it might be. And then they say, no, bad, XYZ for, whatever reasons. And so we take this value away as if the piece has no value, but worse, that we have no value. And that's the real danger. And that's where the discouraging thing is. I want to tell you a quick story. I don't remember. So J.K. Rowling, the big writer of Harry Potter, she wanted to write other books. And so she wrote under an alias. I don't remember the alias's name, and submitted it. Nobody knew it was her. And submitted it to an agent. And the agent basically said, you're a terrible writer. You should try to take some writing courses. You still there?
Yeah. No, I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
So it's just so
Do you have me?
curious that she was, as with Harry Potter was rejected numerous times, but this multi-billionaire writer tries to do another thing under a different name, and again, you have no value. Your writing is terrible. Go away, basically. And so we take the value away from the act of doing and putting it on now some sort of physical act of someone else as sort of the gatekeeper of are we of value or not. And that's the danger. Sure, we want to be successful at whatever. We want to be acknowledged and validated. But we need to honor ourselves first and acknowledge and respect, okay, this beautiful thing I created, it's not for this person, but it's still something that needs to be respected and honored as this is something that I am, and this is something I created, regardless of the sales.
I love your sensitivity and your awareness of this, because I couldn't have explained it better. You finish it up, you feel the value, and then you give it. But basically, what you said, the gatekeeper. I always say, could you buy your wife a wedding ring if you haven't seen? You're together with about 2 or 3 years, and then you want to marry that woman or man, and you say, I get a wedding ring for the person that I'm going to ask me to marry. Could you, and you really intimately know that person, could you select a ring that they would have chosen? It's impossible. And what these people pretend of these publishers that they can do, they should say, look, Douglas, I'm going to read your book and I tell you my opinion, and if I can do something with it. Wouldn't that be totally different than saying, oh, it's not for us? Because not for us is a system answer. A human answer would say, Douglas, I see the effort. It's tremendous. I just can't do anything for me. I mean,
great point.
And so we condition each other, we condition each other to systems. Again, here's the system thing, because I've learned, and of course, do you get a little sting when it says, I can't do anything with your book? Yeah, you get a little sting, but you can handle it. But if I say, listen, the world says no, it's a total shaming. There's so much shame involved in this system of how we deal with each other, because we say we got to deal according to the system because we get lawsuits. I mean, another system. So one system gives to the other, instead of saying, let's from one day of the other, be humane, be human, and be also aware of humanness, because you got to be aware to say, hey, nobody likes that, or saying, that was understanding you, the human, that you put a lot of work into this, and to say, hey, so sorry, Douglas, I'm not resonating with that content, or I'm totally resonating with that content, but I don't know. See, people don't say, I don't know. They say, I know everything. It's all manipulation. I don't know how to put it on the market. You know how many people I said, I don't have anything to sell. I want to just get a consciousness out. I talk to the best SEO guys of the best web guys, the Instagram specialists. Nobody was even capable to compartmentalize what I asked. I said, I don't want to sell it. Yeah, I wrote books. I wrote 5 books, and my 6th is almost done. And I said, yeah, I wrote them. But I know that even if 1,000 people buy them, it's not a lot of money. I mean, books is not a profit center in today's world that you can survive. And I said, they can't. What I'm saying, what I'm getting down to is we are so into system that we can't answer a human potential, that would be a human potential question, because I'm trying to get a consciousness out and not a sales funnel.
Yeah.
And they're incapable. So this, you stomp any system. When you come from outside the box, I mean, Einstein couldn't get a job. I'm not calling myself Einstein, but I'm saying I believe Einstein is in everybody. You just have to allow him to be that.
Yeah. So Michael, you're breaking up a little, so maybe we'll kind of end it on that note.
Yeah.
But it's been such a pleasure. You know, you have a podcast, The Smart of Art, which is just great little bits, 30-second little nuggets, like little bites of sushi. Just something to walk away with. And sometimes I do that myself, just have short podcasts, you know, because people don't have an hour every day. And sometimes just a minute or two or a few minutes, just something good to take away with. So you can check Michaell Magrutsche out at the Smart of Art. And anything else to close with, Michaell?
Yeah, Michaell Art. If you want a hub of all my stuff, just go to michaellm.com and Michaell with 2 L's. So michaellm.com, Michaell with 2 L's. And Douglas, I really, I mean, you were totally aligned with me in our thing. And we really, I want people to re-listen to this, because to see how human potential works in action versus system.
Yeah. And it's easy to hide behind a role or a system, but yeah, it's you have to remember we're all humans here, trying to get by. And at the end of the day, we help each other thrive.
You know what? I don't know why we are unstable. I don't know. I have 5 bars, but no, human. This is the great end. Human potential and humanness is not available on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all the social medias. When you say, what's your specialty? What is your thing? You can't find it. Human potential, you can't find. You can do everything about system analysis. You cannot find human. Try to find the keywords.
That's a great point.
I mean, can you believe this? You know?
That's a great point.
I encourage everybody to re-listen to this, because it's just in the listening. You get it. You don't need to, don't worry about the words. You know?
Michaell Magrutsche, it's been a pleasure, sir.
Thank you, Douglas. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
Anytime.